What's up, guys? This is Bruno here with the Football Channel, and I want to talk to you about the match that we saw today between Portugal and Belgium. That was the second match of the day. The first match was also really interesting. It was Netherlands faced Czech Republic, and that gave us our first really big upset in the tournament. I was convinced that the Netherlands were probably going to beat the Czech Republic. That didn't happen. It was always going to be a close game, but I thought the Netherlands kind of had enough firepower with Wijnaldum, Depay in good form to overcome the Czechs. That didn't happen, obviously. Patrick Schick again, giving the Czech Republic a win. He's certainly their standout player, and we got our first big upset in the game and our first favorites, if you will, in the Netherlands that got kicked out of the tournament by the Czech Republic. But really, I want to talk about Portugal Belgium, which was going to be the big game of the day, and it was the big game of the day. It was the most interesting out of the two matches, but it didn't turn out when you look at the quality of both teams. When you look at the quality that Portugal has and the quality that Belgium has, I think we didn't really see a game that really reflected that. I think both teams were a little bit off today, and maybe it's because they cancel each other. That's one possibility, and that happens sometimes in this kind of matches. But yeah, it was kind of a stale game. We didn't really see a whole lot of chances. Obviously, Torgan Hazard's goal was fantastic. You can make the argument that Rui Patricio could have saved that. The Portugal's goalkeeper could have saved that. It wasn't impossible, but and some people have, some commentators have, but I think that was a fantastic strike. I mean, yes, it was savable maybe, but it was still, that doesn't take away the fact that it was a beautiful strike by the youngest of the Hazard brothers. Belgium came into the match with all their firepower. You know, they started Eden Hazard, they started Kevin De Bruyne, both of them playing behind Romelu Lukaku, which is arguably their best player right now, the most informed player right now, given that De Bruyne is still carrying a little bit of first he had that first injury, and today again first he was carrying that injury that from the final of the Champions League, that he got some broken bones in his face. That was a nasty one. He wasn't fully fit, so he didn't start the first two games in the European Championship. So now that he recovered, now he got a different injury. We'll see if he's fit to play the next match. That's going to be a problem for Belgium, because Eden Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne, they both had to be replaced with injuries in this match throughout the course of this match. So that's going to be a problem for Belgium potentially later on. But we'll see how serious those injuries are. But they brought in all their firepower for, at least for this game against Portugal, and you can say it worked because they won, yeah, but they weren't super convincing. This wasn't. Still remember when they played Brazil? That was probably their most impressive match in the previous World Cup, and De Bruyne, that combination of De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, and Lukaku was just deadly. When they're firing on all cylinders, those three players up front, they're almost unstoppable. But that's not really what we saw today. And in fact, Portugal had the best chances in the second half. We saw the best chances coming from Portugal, but they lacked a sense of urgency, I thought. The first half, they weren't that good. And in the second half, certainly Portugal, who had to go and chase the game, were a little bit better than Belgium, I would say, but they still lacked a certain urgency. And then we saw lots of fouls. The game was interrupted a number of times. Pepe could easily have gotten a red card, and he was a little bit lucky to only be shown a yellow card at one point. So it wasn't a great performance by Portugal. And yes, João Felix in particular, he had a couple of chances. He hit the bar, he hit the post in one of them, and that was a little bit unlucky. So Portugal could have equalized potentially, but it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. And I was left with the impression that this is not a very memorable game. It's not a game that really reflects the quality, especially the attacking quality. You know, with Belgium having Eden Hazard, De Bruyne, Lukaku up front, but also Portugal. You know, playing with an attacking trio today, made up of Cristiano Ronaldo, Diogo Jota on the left, and Bernardo Silva on the right. So it was a very, very powerful attacking trio as well, and it just for some reason just didn't work. Bruno Fernandes again coming into the team in the second half. He didn't start once again, and he didn't really seem inspired. He wasn't the Bruno Fernandes that we saw throughout the season, really being the big star for Manchester United. He was probably the most disappointing player so far that we've seen in the European Championship. I mean, he was a shadow of the player that he is for Manchester United. So really a shame that Bruno Fernandes didn't show up for this European Championship. And it's a little bit surprising, to be honest. I think he just got to the tournament really tired after a very grueling season in which he had to carry Manchester United into second place in the Premier League, second place in the Europa League. I mean, he really had to carry the team on his back, and maybe that meant that he got to this tournament and he didn't really have anything left anymore. And but Portugal as a whole, I'm a little disappointed. I was having grown up in Lisbon, and cheering for the Portuguese national team, I was expecting to see a better Portugal. I wanted to see a better Portugal, especially there was a lot of hopes, a lot of really high expectations going into this tournament for Portugal with the team that they had. I mean, it was a fantastic team: Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Diogo Jota, and the list goes on and on. João Felix, who came in today, and again, he didn't really quite look like a player that you would pay 100+ million euros for, no matter how young, and it was disappointing for Portugal. Now, where can this? But it is what it is. Belgium, both Portugal and Belgium are great teams, and we know one of them had to go out, and Belgium, at the end of the day, they did just enough to get their fourth win in 4 games. Portugal exits the tournament with just 1 win in 4 games. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. Belgium. The big question now is, where can Belgium go? How far can they go in the tournament? And let me share the screen here. Let's look at the bracket real quick before I end this video. And we see here the problem for both Belgium and Portugal, obviously, and we knew this before the match, is that they're placed in a very tough spot in the bracket. You really want to be England or Germany right now, depending on the result of that match tomorrow. On Tuesday. That's the nice place to be. That's the nice part of the bracket here. The Czech Republic and Denmark, yes, good teams, but none of the two are really that amazing. The quarterfinals, and that's probably going to be a pretty even game. And then you'll have a biggie, England or Germany, also playing 2 teams that are not that strong, honestly. Sweden and Ukraine, both of them. I reckon Sweden is probably going to go through, but even if they do, I mean, it's still not a big opponent for an England or Germany, which are much bigger teams with a lot more quality. But most importantly here, because we're talking about Belgium, I mean, if you look at Belgium now, they're going to play Italy in the quarterfinals, and we already knew this. We already knew it was going to be a really tough time. That they're going to have a tough time in the quarterfinals and beyond. That's going to be a tough game. And then if they win, they'll probably face, you can see here, France, Spain. Both of them are favorites for tomorrow's matches. They'll probably face, I'm guessing, France or Spain. I don't think Switzerland. Maybe the easiest opponents they could possibly face here would be, I believe, Croatia. And And even then, that's a tough game. So Belgium certainly, even though they won today, they're gonna, and we knew this before, but they were certainly gonna have a tough time to get to the final. It's gonna be a difficult road. But if anyone can do it, I do believe that this Belgian team has what it takes. The question is, can they get through more established teams like Italy? I think they can. I think they could beat Spain. France, though, it's difficult. It's difficult to say. It's the same team that beat them in the semifinals of the World Cup, and I think that would be a very compelling match, and I think Belgium could potentially beat France, especially because France is not playing great football so far. They're not playing as you would expect them to play with the kinds of talents that they have, and being the world champions. So I do think that Belgium has a chance. Obviously, they have a very tough road ahead of them, but I think that what they earned today is it wasn't a great performance by Belgium, but at the end of the day, they eliminated one of the other contenders, the current champions, Portugal, the defending champions, I should say, and they got the job done. And at the end of the day, if you can get the job done in these tough matches, and you can win consistently, as Belgium has done so far, and you have the kinds of players that they have, it's hard to say that Belgium can't do it. This is their time. This is their moment. This year and next year, this is the last chance for Belgium's so-called golden generation. And I think they know this, and they're playing with this in mind. And I think this could be, they're still in it, and I think they have a chance, but it will be difficult, certainly. Now, before I finish this video, last thing I want to say, the big question is for Belgium, they can do it potentially, but they're going to need their best players. They're going to need De Bruyne, and they're going to need probably Eden Hazard as well. Without those two, and we'll see how serious the injuries are, but even if they have to play against Italy without Eden Hazard and without Kevin De Bruyne, I think that's a different deal. I think Belgium, they're going to struggle at that point, because they're not going to have their playmakers. So I think that would make Italy the big favorite in the game if they can't count with those two players, and that would be a tremendous loss for them. So we'll see about that. We'll see about those injuries, how serious they are. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the game that we all expected to see, I think, but it was still a very compelling game. And Belgium goes through, and we also got our first big surprise with the Czech Republic beating the Netherlands, our first true upset of the tournament. So in any case, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.